Slim. Uh, Dark times. I think we put the dark ages are back. Hopefully not. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. Slim, I do not like starting podcasts with number overload, right? I hate the numbers overload, but I'm going to do that. I'm going to hit you with some numbers. I'm going to set the stage, and then we're just going to talk about everything that's going on right now, right? So, welcome into the Red Corner. Just Slim and Bones tonight. Excuse me, just Slim and Devo tonight. Bones
Yes.
has a family slash mummers obligation, so we'll catch up with him ASAP. But let's just set the stage here. So our Philadelphia Phillies are 9-19. We've lost 15 of the last 18. We are coming off a 10-game losing streak not that long ago. We have the lowest winning percentage in all of baseball, aka we are the worst team in baseball right now. We have the worst run differential in baseball. We have the second lowest amount of runs scored in all of baseball. We are 2-7 in series this season. We've won 2 series, we've lost 7. We've lost 6 straight series. Okay, so that's what just happened. Now let's talk about what's to come. There is 134 games left. That's about a little less than 20% of the season. Quick math, right? So let's just solve for the wild card, and then let's just solve for the NL East. So what I did, Slim, I went back and I picked a fair number of 86 games for the final wild card team, right? That's a fair number, right? You're a gambling guy.
Yeah.
So I picked 86. For us to get the final wild card, we'd have to go 77 and 57, which is about a 93 win pace from here on out. Okay, that's the wild card. Not the hardest thing to think. I mean, the way they're playing right now, everything's hard to believe. But now let's talk about bonkers mode. NL East. For the Phils to win the NL East, we'd have to go 87 and 47, which is a 105 win pace. So short of us just playing historically great baseball and the rest of the division collapsing, that's probably not happening, right? I mean, mathematically, it's probably not. I know I just threw 1,000 numbers at you. I just wanted to set the stage, brother.
Yeah. Real fast. You said 105 game wins pace if we want to catch the Braves. I tweeted out earlier we would have to play like the 2001 Seattle Mariners, and I believe they won like 106 or 110 games. So it's basically right there. But let's be a little positive. Let's get straight to the shout outs, and then we'll talk about these moves. Cool. So I got 3 shout outs this week. The shout outs, as always, are brought to you by Warminster Dental Associates and D-Town Dental. They are smiles ahead of the competition. So for my first shout out, I got to give it to one of my twins, Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar retired from WWF last week. He won his final WrestleMania match and his final match of his career versus, I got the guy's name, Uba Thema. He beat Uba Thema within 5 minutes. There was some controversy. Triple H, who was is the puppet strings guy over there now, was pulling the strings, saying he wanted Lesnar to lose his final match. Lesnar got hold of it. And Lesnar, who we all know, Brock Lesnar was in the WWE, but he was more than the WWE. It doesn't matter if it was WWF, UFC, a movie, a TV show appearance. Brock Lesnar is, when you say the final boss, he's the final boss, right? Like, there's just no doubt about Brock Lesnar.
No doubt.
And legendary haircut, inspired me as a child. I love Brock Lesnar. Second one, another inspiration for Slim as a child, and I still got to see this movie, but shout out to Michael Jackson. The Michael Jackson biopic, I believe this is going to be part 1, has brought in $217 million globally. There's the conversations and the debates, the criticisms, the controversy, the music, the story of Michael Jackson has lived on for decades, and I'm happy to see it's getting another iteration. I'm hearing mixed reviews, so I can't wait and give it my own, but shout out to Michael Jackson still being in the lexicon, and it had a great opening weekend. And lastly, shout out to Studio 54, which opened its doors in this day in 1977. Studio 54 was basically what you see the reality Twitter now and the reality YouTube now. When you see all those people streaming in real life, that was what Studio 54 it was, right? There are all those fake club scenes, making things up to look like you're really living it. People in 1977 in New York City going to Studio 54, they really lived it. So shout out to Studio 54, legendary spot. Low key, very, very influential. when you compare to what's going on today. So there are my 3 shout outs. And yeah, man, shout out to Warminster Dental Associates, D-Town Dental. They are smiles ahead of the competition, even if the Philadelphia Phillies got you down a little bit.
Absolutely. And they are, without a doubt, the best dental group in the Philadelphia area as far as we're concerned. They're phenomenal. Phenomenal. All right. So before we get to what's next, I'll say, in Phillies land, let's tease what we just had going on this past weekend, right, Slim? So while I'm pulling this video up, talk to the listeners about what we were just doing.
So over the weekend, Friday, we hosted our first ever Phillies exclusive Quizzo. We had a great turnout. Shout out to the Amvest Post, the Kensington Memorial Amvest Post. Shout out to Mason Jar Martinis and Aussie for coming up and serving martinis our night. Shout out for Bones, who was behind the bar. Shout out to Joe Yo and the Fresh Works for giving us the food. The steaks were great. The wings were great. The hoagies were great. We got steak, wings, and hoagies. So shout out to Joe. Shout out to the Port Richmond Fresh Works. And shout out to Top Chalk Studio. They came out. They were filming. Our producer, Doug, you guys met him before. He was there. It was a great time by all. We had people from Jersey come out. We had people from Delco. We had South Philly came out heavy, and they were swinging. Okay, they were swinging by the end.
You held your own.
Yeah, I thought I was fair. Super duper fun. We had the gift baskets. We did a 50-50. The 50-50 was won by Bones' wife, right?
I believe that is correct. Yes. So there might be some internal investigations happening, and we'll hand over all information that's needed. But let's show you guys what we got into. Let's pull up the video. That was a great time.
Man. A little bit PTSD. I love the quiz though, but doing the grading, I got to get a system where I'm banging out those grading fast, teaching all week and then grading on a Friday night. Oh man. But we got to shout out the teams who won too. Team Ram, Alex Cole, our guy. He brought his boys down. They won. I think they had a small team, 3 or 4. We kept it strict, right? We were not allowed to go over 5 people on a team. We ended up having like 10 different teams. It was popping, very, very close. We had a tie at the end. Okay. It was 33-33 at the end. We had some downtowners representatives, the Philly Wolves, who are, I'll tell you what, dude, these people know their sports. They are not messing around. And they're police and stuff. They play by the rules, which you got to respect. It came down to a shout out at the very, very end. I called both up. I did not have a great tiebreaker question, so I know for next time. But I went with a question. It was controversial. If someone else wants to jump in the chat and explain it, that's all fine and dandy. You're gonna have to come to the next quiz though to see what it's all about. But let me tell you, it was a shit ton of fun.
It was a lot of fun. And speaking of the chat, if you have any questions at all tonight, throw them our way. And by the way, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Here's a newbie. Hit that hype button, right? Give us some hype points, baby. Find those hype points and send them our way. Doesn't cost you anything, and it helps us battle the evil YouTube algorithm. All right, Slim, I have one more question for you on Quizzo, and then we'll talk about what we think the Phillies are going to do with this whole organizational situation going on. My question for you, and it's a very difficult question to answer because we created the Quizzo. So separate yourself from it. But my wife asked me, would you have won that Quizzo?
So
I said, yes, we would.
Yeah, I think we probably win the Quizzo by a point. Honestly, it might have come down. I think we probably win by a point or two.
Yeah.
And that frankly, a couple of those shout outs, we're definitely stealing a couple of those shout outs that were happening. we're sweeping all the other bonus points, which we don't got to get into. But yeah, we're
Yes.
sweeping that kind of stuff. We're not doing. We had some people, one person, names won't be mentioned, but
Right.
I don't think they were as honorable as the rest of the South Philly crew.
Oh, really?
When it comes to the beer chugs, let's be honest. Adam's brother, he was coming up to me, telling me he was done his chugs. All you had to do for an extra point in between rounds was
Yeah.
to basically top off your beer in front of me, and I gave your team an extra point. That team, and I can't remember the name of his team. I didn't see him chug one beer all night, and he badgered me for the extra points.
Okay, so we'll have to table that for next time. But no, that was funny. We were asked if we would have won, but no. Shout out to everyone that came in. We got a couple pieces of feedback, and by the way, we had Big Mike Quizzo in the building, who's like an OG Quizzo guy. I said, Mike, give us genuine feedback. There was 3 things he said. Number 1, you guys did an awesome job. Love the questions. Loved how you guys. He said Slim was phenomenal on the mic. He said some of the questions were a little bit long. I'll raise my hand there. And the other said that he said the Quizzo went a little bit long.
Yeah,
but
Quizzo went a bit long.
We're going to tighten it all up next time. But anyway, let's talk some ball. Let's talk some ball here. You know what's coming, boys. You know what's coming. So tomorrow the Phillies have an off day. So, Slim, I'm going to ask you what you would do. Let's start off with what you would do, Land. Would you make any personnel moves tomorrow at this point?
All right. So tomorrow, I would not make any personnel moves. I just want it. At this point, it's kind of like the captain going down with the ship, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we get rid of Rob Thomson, if you get rid of Kevin Long, who's stepping up and taking that spot? And I know that's always like the mid-wit argument, but there's some truth to it. We just gave the guy extension, so there's money already allocated to this guy. And there's just no one else out there. And it's not him who's not performing. It's absolutely the players. And if you bring in someone else, like my understanding is Don Mattingly doesn't want to go through the grind of basically.
That's what he said.
Oh, that's what he's saying.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll be the next Philly manager. I don't think so. And the guy in Boston, Alex Cora, I don't think he'll be the next Philly manager. And they're the 2 hot names that you hear. And then after that, we're talking about a truly due diligence search. So someone like Middleton, instead of rushing the process, you just let it burn. And then you slowly do the coaching search. We saw the Philadelphia Eagles for years, right? When they were hiring Sirianni and Doug Peterson, they took a few minutes, right?
Right.
And there's reasons for that. And don't get me wrong. There's a huge argument for Dombrowski to be at fault for him to lose his job, but he's not. The GM's not going to lose his job in the middle of the season, especially a critical. And no matter what they do, it's a special year due to the All-Star game and due to the anniversary of the country. So that's also in consideration. Dombrowski, if he replaces Rob Thomson, who is he going to send to who's going to be our manager representation in front of all Major League Baseball and the country and basically the world at that point? That's it. And Thomson can already he's already there. He's already built. He's already part of us. So unfortunately, I don't think and here's the real decision. Does getting rid of Topper make this team better? And the answer is no. What makes this team better is just slowing down and really considering Dombrowski has to consider his shit.
Well, the answer is most likely no, right? Because there is a scenario out there. And by the way, I agree with what you're saying, but there's a scenario where we have a Topper 2.0, right? Again, a low percentage, I would say, because the circumstances were different, the teams were different, a lot of things were different. But there's a scenario out there. Where John Middleton and Dave Dombrowski, if they're having these conversations right now, one of the conversations is the most likely opportunity right now for us is to make the wild card, right? That's what all the math nerds, that's what all the business bros are up there saying, look, we're trying to make the wild card right now. Let's put our numbers in. So how do we get that? Is Rob Thomson part of the future? If they don't think Rob Thomson is going to be here in 2027, then making a change now, to your point, does it make a difference? Does it make a difference to help us get to that wild card? That's what you have to ask yourself. Now, what I want to push back on is the common narrative out there, and not from you, but what I'm seeing is, oh well, Kevin Long. Why would you fire Kevin Long? He's a great manager. He's a great hitting coach. He's respected. You know who else was a great manager? Charlie Manuel. Sometimes the classic saying is you get hired to get fired, right? You run its course. Sometimes it runs its course. So I think Kevin Long, to answer the question that I asked you at the beginning of this, Kevin Long should be gone tomorrow. We've been through this too many times. He should be gone tomorrow. There needs to be a shakeup. I'm doing two things tomorrow. Kevin Long's gone. Did you notice the Bull, Greg Luzinski, said he came out publicly, which I think is very interesting. I'm gonna talk to our sources a little bit about that, because the last I checked, Luzinski's still in good standings and owns that bar down there, right? So that's pretty wild that he came out there publicly like that, because he's a guy who's embedded into the organization. He's a guy who does business with the organization. He went public and said he would fire Kevin Long. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. Again, I have to double check, because as far as I know, he's still in good standing with the organization, right?
There's no doubt. But again, ex-player, like, there's two things you want. And Middleton does got to be careful with the way he treats the alumni, especially ones he's in business with. Right. For the most part, it seems like he does a decent job there. It seems like all the alumni are pretty excited with the Phils. So again, he's probably just upset watching our product like we are. So I do think it's interesting. I do think it leans to it being more serious. It adds to the urgency. It goes from orange to deep orange, Texas orange, almost red. But I don't want the Phillies to be reactionary whatsoever. I don't want us to be what's going on with the Boston Red Sox right now. And here's the thing.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Red Sox.
Everyone's bringing up, oh, remember when they got rid of Joe Girardi and then they went on the run? Yeah. Well, Topper was the manager that did that. Okay. And I say that for another reason.
Right.
I don't think. All right. Maybe this is where I'm wrong. This is the 1 to 3% where I'm wrong. I don't think Manley's the guy to come in and start carrying them right through like Topper did before. Right. So I don't, because when Topper did it for Girardi, he was already on the staff, right? Same thing with Kevin Long. They had a little bit of history with each other, not even just with this team. I think previously, especially Long and Girardi. I don't think that's as true, even though Manley still has that Yankee connection. And then I don't know what's the game of who's people.
Right. No, that's a good point. It was actually two things I wanted to say. Let me elaborate on my Greg Luzinski, the Bull comment, where he basically came out publicly and said he would get rid of Kevin Long. Now, Buster Olney, he went out there, because this is what kind of, you got to read between the lines, right? These insider types, these journalist types, every once in a while, they'll put an opinion out there that's an informed insider opinion. Do you think it's a coincidence that Buster Olney is throwing Alex Cora's name out there a day before all this stuff happens? No, it's not. He was hearing things on the ground. So let me finish this. So Buster Olney was hearing rumblings, right? Alex Cora around. Now, is the Bull doing the same thing? Is the Bull talking to all the alumni? Is the Bull talking to the Phillies insiders? You know he's locked in to more people than you and I are. So are they unhappy in that organization with Kevin Long? So let me finish this thought, and I want to give you the mic. If the Phillies, I completely agree with you. If the Phillies get rid of Rob Thomson, it makes the entire clubhouse feel like they got him fired, right? They got Thomson fired. But if Kevin Long goes, that's more of a wake-up call. That's hey, we know this was your guy, but now we got to make a change here. What it didn't work the last 4 postseasons. It's not working now. You're the worst team in baseball. You're the worst team in baseball. Something's got to change.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Something has to change. But again, if you get rid of Kevin Long, who's the next guy up? And let me go to your Buster Olney point, right? Anyone can be a hitting coach. I don't know if that's true, right? And if we're looking at what Kevin Long done, we'll get into all this later. But is Alec Bohm being a head case Kevin Long's problem, right? Is JT Realmuto being hurt Kevin Long's problem? Schwarber's hitting, Harper's hitting, Turner's whatever. Marsh is hitting better. So Kevin Long still has a couple pieces he could really. I know it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy, but Bohm's or Stott's better recently. Marshy has been better. Marshawn stinks. We know that. Crawford's a rookie. These are things that I know you want to hold someone accountable because
That's all it is.
Lazinski, these other people are looking at the stats and we're dead last across. We're looking at the Mets hoping they lose 12, 13.
When would you do it then? When would you do it? I mean, by the way, it's a good faith question. When would you do it?
Good faith. Just like Buster Olney said, it's going to happen in 2027 if it happens. It's not going to happen this year.
So you don't think the Phillies make any personnel coaching changes at all this year? By the way, the fanboy in me loves that. I'm riding till the wheels fall off.
It's going to get hot. Are they worried about people not showing up to the games because they still have Kevin Long on the? I don't think people are going to be showing up regardless. So they got to start winning. So I don't think they're going to show up regardless. If you hear people saying, "Oh, well, they're not going to show up to the games if it's going to be Topper and Kevin Long," I don't buy it because if they start winning again, they will. Obviously, a coaching change doesn't guarantee winning. So unless the new coaches get wins, you're not going to sell tickets regardless. So I think we're in a real bad spot where we just got to be careful. Hopefully the pitching gets better. We're seeing not much today with Chris Sale, who's absolutely filthy. But our top guys are kind of coming around. That's all I got, man. That's all I got.
Do you think Topper has lost the clubhouse?
Do I think Topper has lost the clubhouse? I do think Topper has lost the clubhouse a smidge.
You do?
I do.
Smidge. Okay, a smidge. A smidge. Okay. Yeah.
A smidge is solid. It's whatever. Yeah. Because you heard Bryce Harper's comments. Bryce Harper came out, was it last night or after Friday's loss? Yeah. And he was like, we're tired of hearing the same stuff. Okay? Right. We're tired of hearing the same stuff. And now, just because they're tired of hearing the same stuff doesn't mean it's a smart business move to move on from the whole coaching staff. All right. And again, do we want to take half measures with Kevin Long to please the thirsty masses? I want to do that. I think Middleton is smarter than to do that. And Dombrowski. Middleton really, like he's talking to Dombrowski like you would an attorney general, a vice president, but he's still making all the decisions because he's going to have to make a decision on Dombrowski in 2027. So I don't know. I don't know what that looks like. I think if I was Middleton, I let this play out, right? Yeah. Dombrowski is just the moon to me at this point. And then, like you said, you work the phones and see what other options could be developing, other relationships you have, and see what kind of avenues and other kind of vibes and culture you can go with going into 2027. If this year truly, truly bottoms out and we don't get back into this race, when I say back into the race, I'm talking about the wild card race. Right. If we get back into and we miss the third wild card, let's say we win 84 games and we miss it by 3 games, I'll probably give you some excuses to run it back again.
Yeah. So the conversation that I've been having in my head is, and you kind of alluded to it, is there a scenario where John Middleton is thinking, okay, well, I don't know if I want Dave Dombrowski to be making the next manager move, to your point. So is it just a clean break? I honestly think that's the Vegas favorite. I think John Middleton, in his heart of hearts, knows that the heir apparent is Preston Mattingly. They already have that set up, right? They have all that transition project set up. And then is it a scenario where whenever Dombrowski is going to leave in the next 2 to 3 years, does he just let him go, let him retire, and then he and Mattingly hire whoever the next manager is as opposed to Dombrowski? Does that sound possible?
Well, that makes 100% sense because here's the issue. Let's say Dombrowski's trying to envision something in the future or Middleton's trying to envision something in the future with Dombrowski. It's hard because of this whole Topper, and you don't know what's going to happen with Dombrowski after this year. We keep thinking. But what you can – and now it's hard for Middleton because he has to make a plan with Dombrowski and then an adjacent plan without Dombrowski. it becomes so much easier due to the name you have. It's an in-house hire with Preston Manningly.
Right.
So he could do the, hey, Dave, keep it like business as usual, and then had the conversation with Preston saying, again, talk to your father, talk to the relationships we have. Who can we bring in as maybe not as soon as the year's over, but be ready. As soon as the year's over, we'll waste no time. We hire you. And now the coaching search, you should have a lot of insight and tell on, because I gave you that assignment back in April.
Right. All right, let's play a quick fun game before we transition to our next topic. I want to play the blame game. And when I say the blame game, everyone in the organization. So don't give me like specific crazy, an obscure recruiting guy or anything like that. But the big guys, front office, all that, and then the players. But I want specific players. So I'll go first so you know what I'm talking about. Number one, I'm going Dave Dombrowski, blame game. Number two, I think I'm going a combination, and this is kind of a cop-out. So I'm going to go a Nola / Taijuan Walker.
Yeah.
Those are my two guys. I'm doing a number one, then Nola / Taijuan Walker. And then I guess, I don't know, who am I going to go? Like Bohm, Turner? Like, is that fair?
So, no, the other one, it's Bohm, you can add in there. But I think it's more fair to add in the starting pitching, because the starting pitching was going to be a strength. So, Number one, it goes to Dave Dombrowski. He's the guy who reconstructed the roster. He's the guy that told us that he likes what he has. He's the guy who told us this week that we don't have a cleanup hitter, which we all knew the last couple of years, right? Because he's the guy that keeps plugging in Alec Bohm. One mistake, and I admit this as being a rider for the Phillies, trying to stay optimist. I was fine with Bohm. I've been pounding Bohm. Now we should have signed Suarez, right? Suarez would have been the perfect guy. I'm not saying we should have got Maseraki, right? I'm not saying we should have got Maseraki or Okinomo, right? They're harder energy guys to bring in, right? You got to put a lot of money, not just money, but energy into getting those guys, right? And they're not just 1 year deals; they're multi-year deals. Where Suarez wasn't. Suarez was probably the guy we needed.
$15 million. That's it, dude.
Yeah, that's the guy we needed. Easy said it done. He even signed late in the offseason. After that, is it a combination of Coughlin and the starting pitching? It just hasn't been. It's been the worst in baseball, right? We thought we had a strength, and it's not just. We can talk about Nola and Walker, but Luzardo also.
But they had to give us something, man. Like Nola has. He's going straight into 2025, Nola. I mean, Walker just got cut, right? So, like, those two gave us nothing. Bridging to Wheeler. They gave us nothing. So, I don't know. Is it unfair for us to be pointing the blame at our fourth and fifth pitcher? Probably. But also, when you're pitching like the worst, like, I'm sure they were bottom five starting pitchers in baseball, both of them.
Yeah, but isn't there something more going on with the pitching staff? Because going into the year, when I was handicapping the Phillies, I was saying pitching A++, not just starters, but all the pitching staff.
Right.
The two guys that have always struggled, Nolan and Walker, we see that Walker's off the team. We're seeing Luzardo struggle, and we got rid of, and I'm happy we got rid of him. I don't want him on the team, but Tanner Banks, my boy, who was supposed to be like the next Strom, not your highest leverage guy, but a guy who could be consistent, get something going for you. He hasn't been great. Right. Yeah. He hasn't taken that next mid-tier, that cheap mid-tier level that can save us money and be a productive guy. So it looks like we spent $20 million on Keller. We could
22
$22 million, 2022. Yeah. With the money with Castellanos and Walker, we need another relief. We probably needed one more relief pitcher as well. Another $10.5 million arm.
Well, I mean, Banks, it's funny. At one point, we were like, he's moving up the ladder. Yeah. He's probably one or two. And by the way, like this whole thing might unravel really quickly, right? Like if this unravels really quickly, it doesn't even matter who you're throwing out there, which sounds horrible. But like for a competitive team, all things considered, Banks is like a couple appearances away from really being in complete like non-leverage consideration. He's been terrible.
And one reason I can't blame Walker and have him in the top three is because, like, again, we knew this was going to be bad. we knew that he's not really the
True.
real issue, right? Like when we're talking
True.
about us winning and playing the playoffs, we're not talking about Walker. They've gotten rid. They
Yeah,
gotten
but
rid of.
Bohm was our cleanup hitter to start the year, so we can talk about him.
Yeah. So you can talk about Bohm. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can definitely talk about Bohm. Bohm stinks, man.
Let's talk
Bohm,
about him. Let's
yeah,
talk about
let's
him.
get straight into him.
Yeah.
Everything that I'm seeing with Bohm, I've been a big Bohm guy. Oftentimes, all off season, I'm the one trying to get rid of Stott, even though he has the great defense. But now it comes down to Bohm. And if I have to compare Bohm to Stott head to head, Stott's the better baseball player, and it's not
Yeah.
even close. It's
And we
not
just
even close.
said the opposite like a month ago, but
I said I've been saying the
we have
opposite
to
for
adapt. We
years.
have to
I've been
adapt.
saying the
Yeah.
opposite for years, and it's not even close. Stott brings the elite defensive value. You saw the stats midweek where it's those numbers that pull you back in, right?
Yeah.
Because he has so many second base saves.
His DRS.
Compare that to Bohm, and we got to kill this narrative now. Bohm is DRS is under a run. He's in the negative, so he's not performing like
Right.
he's not performing it defensively either, right? It's okay at best again, which isn't enough, all right? It was okay at best when he was hitting 30 to 40 doubles. If his defense is just going to be okay to bad, I don't know what you do with this guy. Yeah. And Stott has better stats across the board, even hitting. I think Stott's OPS is over 800. To where Bohm's, I don't even know that dude's even at 700.
Well, so this is what I would do and kind of go full circle what I was talking about earlier, right? I would fire Alec Bohm. Not Alec Bohm. I would fire Kevin Long. So I would get rid of Kevin Long tomorrow. And for Alec Bohm, I'm doing some type of, I don't know if I'm going to do a ghost IL stint, some type of leave of absence, some type of extended benching. What I'm doing, I'm sending a message that one of the core guys, right? You know how, remember, when Nick Castellanos left, right, when he was gone, that extended divorce, it kind of gave us the feeling of, all right, well, we're turning the page over. He was one of the 2022 pennant-winning team guys, but then we moved on from him. The vibe was like, all right, maybe we are changing the culture a little bit that Castellanos is gone. Well, who was the other culture negative all along? Alec Bohm, right? So now I think we need to change the page with him. We need to move on from Alec Bohm. We can't handle. I wish the guy nothing but with, you know, God bless him with the parent stuff. God bless him with everything personally. But we don't have time for him to figure all this stuff out. And honestly, what is he batting? Like 130? Like, we don't have time. I think he's got to be done. And we got to put a Mundo Sosa out there. I don't know, Dylan Moore, whoever. Put them out there.
It's going to, again, we see the hole that not having Aiden Miller creates. Sosa is what he is. We see, I still think he struggles defensively. He was a plus defender last year, according to advanced metrics. I don't know where he's at this year. My eye test says he doesn't have it. With Alec Bohm, so people know you can't do a Brett Meyer situation with Alec Bohm, where you designated him to the minor leagues, right? So, because he has 5-year service, he can't go in the minor leagues at all, is my understanding. So he would be released or picked up.
That's what I was saying, like some type of like ghost IL stint, something.
And this is me just I'm agreeing with you. 100% agreeing with you. The next part of that, though, we're talking about, was it Bohm still? Or was there something else I wanted to say about
we got some chat activity while you're thinking. So we got K Paz in the chat saying Bohm's potential tanked and he always struggles mentally. Yeah, man. Like, it's the mental stuff has just been absolutely snowballing this year with all the parents. And then we got Bonzi in the chat. Shout out Bonzi. Nola should have never been re-signed in 23. Been a bum for years, still scrub. Yeah, Bonzi, I think we owe him like 125 over 4 years. We've been talking about this for as long as doing the podcast. That contract is not going to age well. It's not. And it hasn't been, unfortunately.
The Bohm contract's going to kill his legacy.
Nola.
The Nola contract's going to end up potentially really tarnishing his legacy.
That's a good call. That's a good call by you, unfortunately. Bring Miller up at some point. Let the kid get big league reps. He might struggle. He's got a back issue, Ken. So Miller's dealing with a back issue where we don't know if he can even play baseball this year, unfortunately. So but that's been setting him back.
my message is, and what I'm wondering, do we have to fire someone? Why can't Dombrowski or Middleton or someone come out and have a verbal message? Hey, say it. You guys do the whole. If you watch South
You're
Park,
not elite.
you're not elite. You're going to get this guy fired. We're going to make moves. You guys aren't going to be happy.
Yeah.
This isn't acceptable. And maybe pull a couple guys into the office. Yo, if people don't start playing better, right? We're not going to scapegoat Rob Thomson. It's going to be you. You're going to be we're going to lose this year. And
Right.
I'm telling you, Schwarber, I'm telling you, Harper, Nola, whoever, Luzardo, right? We just signed Luzardo. You can either start waiving your no trade clauses, or we're going to keep you. You're just going to be on a terrible rebuild. So they got to have a come to Jesus meeting. And I'm not sure it involves having to fire everybody. That's all.
Would you DFA Alec Bohm?
Would I DFA Alec Bohm? If I couldn't do a mystery, man.
Because while you're thinking, the question really is, the Phillies are probably thinking to themselves, well, first of all, the guy on the field right now, by the way, the past like 3 or 4 games, I think he hit the ball a little bit better. He just had an 0 for 5 the other day. But overall, he's been brutal. The question they're asking themselves, is there some type of opportunity cost of not getting a trade line deal, right, for him? In the odd event that he got hot and then we're out of it, and then there's a contender that needs a third baseman for a rental, right? What are the odds of any of that happening?
Hey, third base is a tough spot, but yeah, at this point, I would DFA Alec Bohm. The scenario you said, I think, is very slim. I think you can almost package it as you're doing him a service. This is your contract year, right? The way you're performing, where your head's at right now in Philadelphia. You've been here for a while. It never was right. You're a better player than you've shown.
Right.
We know, Philly has gotten to you. We're going to DFA you. Take a day. Teams are going to call you. You're going to get a call. You're going to get an opportunity. Consider that a complete rewash. And then hopefully you can make yourself a couple bucks here. Because I can't believe, I was hoping, the highest arc would be we get in the playoffs. He has a great playoff run with us, and he tries to really force us to do something. At this point, this guy, he is hanging on to his next contract.
Right. It's a shame. The whole thing it's been real shame. But let's transition, Slim, to Beast of the Week.
Yo,
who's your Beast of the Week, baby?
My Beast of the Week is no other than Mr. Headcase. I forgot where to throw the ball. Orion Kerkering. Orion Kerkering is absolutely filthy. All right. I'm so happy this dude is bouncing back a little bit. It was a shame when he came off the IL. His first play was another PTSD moment. It was another little dribbler back to him. But he's been fantastic. He entered the game Friday night when we needed an absolutely stop. He went an inning and a half, no hits, striked out a couple. He's just been really, really good since coming back on the IL. And to me, he is, when it comes to that trust tree, I got him number 1 or 2. If we go Duran, Keller, then Kerkering. And Kerkering is knocking on the door of Keller and Duran. Duran's not on the team right now because he's hurt. Right. So for me, Kerkering right now, active pitchers in the bullpen, he's number 2 or number 1 on the trust tree.
He looked excellent. Was it Saturday night? I believe he looked excellent. So that was phenomenal. That was one of his best appearances that we've seen. That reminded me of 2024 Kerkering. The guy just had confidence. So it was nice to see that. Yeah, shout out to Kerkering. And by the way, Beast of the Week is brought to us by Then Before Fitness. They are a small group training and private training facility over in the Port Richmond section of Philadelphia, and family-run business. They are phenomenal. Slim, I gave you a tour of the facility. Incredible, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's like one of these modern spots. Has everything you need. The owners there are super close, personable. It's a great place to be. And the best feeling about going and working out is there's no bigger dopamine hit. You will never feel better than after a workout. So if you're having a long day, if you've been depressed, if you haven't done nothing in years like Slim, go hit the elliptical for 15 minutes. You're going to feel better than before.
Yep.
And that's the whole thing with the gym here, better than before. Located at 2823 Shizler Street, right in the heart of the River Wards.
Yeah, and if you're nervous about, reaching out to these people, because a lot of times walking into a gym for the first time is an intimidating feeling, whether you're doing Planet Fitness, like Slim said, private training, whatever. If you want to alleviate some of that, reach out to us, DM us. We can personally introduce you to the owners of this gym. They'll give you a call. They'll talk to you about everything they offer over at Than Before Fitness. Their entire goal is to get you better than before. So shout out to them. Brought to you by Beast of the Week. Beast of the Week for me is none other than the ace, Zach Wheeler, the man who slayed the losing streak. So obviously, Phillies were down to a 10-game losing streak. Zach Wheeler came in Atlanta and gave us a really nice appearance. And so Phillies won their first game yesterday. So shout out to Zach Wheeler. Very, very encouraging stuff. We got to see his velocity hit up to 96 miles per hour. And yeah, man, all in all, I really, really was happy with what I saw with Wheeler. The velo was concerning down in the minor leagues, right? But the adrenaline, everything, just 2 thumbs up for what we saw for Wheeler. That's the one shining bright right now from the rotation.
Yeah, he was great. Not great. He was pretty solid. His pitch count was a little bit high. Got a little bit nervous there for him. I'm on edge because if we're going to make this comeback and try to push ourselves into the third wild card, we need Sanchez, Wheeler, and Luzardo all to be very, 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 very good. They got to be better than what they've been, including Sanchez, who I know he had all the softballs hit, yada, yada, yada. There's no excuses, man.
Yeah, Sanchez's numbers have been so bizarre. He's had 1 million strikeouts, but also has 1 million hits. I think he was like number 1 or 2 in the league in strikeouts, and also number 1 and 2 in the league in hits. Hits allowed.
It was bizarre. 10. It was like 10 hits or something the other day, but like 4 or 5 of them were infield hits.
I know, bizarre stuff. So hopefully the baseball gods and all of the law of averages smooth out for us. Bonzi saying that Miller, meaning Aiden Miller, should be up as soon as he's healthy. Yeah, I mean, all of this is definitely speeding up his timeline for sure, right?
Yeah, once he, like I said, I'm not out on the Phillies 100%. I'm close to it. But when it comes to the wild card, we got that third wild card. We've seen teams as bad as Miami Marlins last year fight their way back in and be out of it by a few games. We've seen the Detroit Tigers be like the worst team in baseball and get into the playoffs. The Kansas City Royals are a team that seem to be always second half kicking. So we've seen this kind of thing before. It can start by getting rid of Bohm.
Right.
Bringing up Aiden Miller when he's right. As soon as he's ready, you can have Sosa over there for the meantime. Giving Sosa extended playing time for the first time in a long time, maybe since the middle of last year. Then Miller comes up, and then we can still make that deal. We can still make that deal at the All-Star break. All right, I've been saying that since the offseason. I said the free agency, I boo-hoo it because the value sucks, right? You're paying premium. Mid-season is where it's at. Mid-season can be absolutely where it's at. And I'm tired of people complaining about not signing players like Ryan Felder. I know the dude hit a homer off a lefty today, and guys like Dominic Smith. Dominic Smith wouldn't be playing if Profar didn't get knocked for steroids for the second time. So sometimes luck is a factor in this.
Interesting.
And sometimes you do got to move pieces around. And at this point, we got to move pieces around. So I'm fine with the Bohm thing. Put Sosa there, and man, let's get Aiden Miller some cortisone shots.
Slim, recall last year, Sosa was probably our best player for the first 10 games or so. Remember, he started out the gates on fire. So maybe we can get another one of those Sosa streaks. And we got Bonzi in the chat saying here, maybe we should all give them a standing ovation when they come home. We might be at that point, Bonzi.
Bonzi, I would say so, but with the ticket sales, they're so low. I believe someone stole his bat, they said.
Talking about his parents. Talking about his parents stealing Bo's bat. Kramer, that's messed up, brother.
That ain't right. I'm afraid the standing out will probably be the weakest it's ever been because it won't be. I'm afraid it won't be a sold out crowd.
Yeah, golf claps.
Yeah, exactly. Golf claps. And who do you give it to? You give it to Alec Bohm.
Give it the topper. Give it the
Man.
topper. Yeah. So just we got a question here from someone who DM'd us. Do you have anything? Because this is kind of an in the weeds baseball question. Anything you want to talk about before we do this question?
No, I'm good.
All right. So I'll read this out a little bit longer. This is from Kenny. Ken. So it's, can you guys discuss the difference in batting when pitchers let up home runs? I feel like the general public doesn't understand what type of placement of pitches our batters see in situations. So I believe the spirit of this question is a couple different things. Number one, what zones, what are the factors that impact, home runs? Obviously, you hear about the classic middle, right? You want the pitchers to avoid the middle. That's common where the heat map for hitters are, right? And then you also hear it depends on the hitter itself, and they have scouting reports on all this stuff. They know the heat maps for each batter, usually middle, and up. The other factors here are the counts, right? You hear about the classic. Again, we're just talking ball here. We're talking 101 stuff because Kenny wanted us to talk through it. And you hear about the counts, right? You hear the classic hitters counts, right? When you got a hitters count, that means that the pitcher has to attack the zone. When the batter knows that the pitcher has to attack the zone, they can swing a little bit more freely because they think there's something coming to the zone. So there's some of the other factors that just basic 101 ball.
Yeah, and a couple things that strike my head on there, and these are a little spotty. But the first one, watching Aaron Nola today, when he's letting up shots and he's letting rippers out to left field, left and right, looking just like Taijuan Walker. A lot of those pitches are what they call they're rising in the zone, right? They're fastballs or whatever. That instead of staying low and hitting their spots, they're going to the middle and they're meeting the bat, right? So imagine taking an elevator up and then the bat smacking you the hell out, right? So that's kind of what's happening with some of these fastballs and other pitches. A second thing I want to bring up, and it is to circle back to Kevin Long a bit. You talk about hitters count, pitches count, right? Mm-hmm. No doubt. That's been the way baseball's played. It's still played. It's always going to be played like that. It's a huge strategic thing to know. However, right, with the advanced data, there's less pitchers and less so. They don't always pitch to the count, and they pitch more to the data and to the spots. Now, let me bring up to my third term. Is Kevin Long's people, and we've heard this on other shows, is Kevin Long and the Phillies, are they just, how there's AI slop? Are they just giving their batters data slop? That means nothing, and then it's like they're getting just bad info because they're so far away. And shout out to Ruben Amaro Jr. I know we had our differences earlier today.
Yeah, clear the air on that. Clear the air on that.
I am a fan on that, and I've listened to you, my man. So, secondly, watching the game today, second inning, we saw Aaron Nola let up a home run, made it 5-0. And Ruben was actually started to explain some of those rising things. He also started to explain what I thought, but I misheard. He said Aaron Nola looks out of sync. I thought he said Aaron Nola looks out of shape.
Right.
Due to the massive struggle to throw strikes, right? Like it has not been normal. He hasn't been on his game, and today just looked really off. They're making it looks easy for them, right?
Right.
And the conditioning point I thought was there. That made sense to me. If you're not ready to be pitching like that, you're going to be off it. You watch the APS, right? Millimeters. So if your conditioning is not there, if you're tired, or if your sleep's not there, or if you were working out and you're trying to do something better training wise or whatever, something seems wrong, right? And I'm not saying he's out of shape. Sorry for misquoting you, Ruben, saying he's out of sync, but I still see it. I could see something there. It was the second inning. He looked absolutely gassed and sweaty as balls.
Yeah. I mean, Noel's a sweaty dude, but you're not wrong. So thank you for clearing that up with Ruben, because I know you guys had a little bit of back and forth on Twitter. So Ken, Kenny had a follow-up question. I appreciate that, guys. Also, how does our pitching letting up home runs affect other teams pitching to us? How do you think that affects our batters? Does that make sense? It makes perfect sense. So I'm going to take home runs simply with runs, because this is what's been happening a lot to the Phillies. Now, when the offense is going up to bat in the first or the second inning and they're down 5-0, it's twofold, right? The opposing pitcher now is a little bit more loose. They're pitching with the lead, as you common say. So how does that come in? Number one, they can attack more, right? They can attack more because they know that the sluggers on the other side feel like they got to hit 5-run home runs. So they're attacking, they're leading the chasing. They can play the game. They can pitch around the edges because, again, they know that you have to score runs 5 instead of 2. So a lot of it, I just saw a really good clip on this question. So really timely question. I think it was actually a former Met, believe it or not, said a hitter, the simplest way when you're not doing well, and I'll credit this, is allow the scoreboard to dictate how you approach the at bat. Right? Did you see this clip?
No, but that's the way it's all. It's funny
the way
that
it should be.
No one probably thinks that. Right?
No one thinks that. It's simple. It'll allow the scoreboard to dictate your at bat. Right? So if you need to get that runner over from second to third, right? Maybe you allow yourself to swing at that outside pitch to advance the runner because it's a slow hit ball to the second baseman, right? You allow the scoreboard to dictate your approach. So just simple things like that.
And I think to answer question 1 and 2 real fast for you, Kenny, is how does letting up home runs affect other teams pitching to us? Well, they're not going to pitch to our home run guys. So they're going to try to pitch around us. And we don't have a lot of home runs, right? We watched Kyle Schwarber hit his 9th home run. And as he's walking around, we're down, 6-2, right? So they let up a 2-run bomb. It's almost no threat in the 7th inning at that point. Schwarber does the lap. The dugout has no emotion. He has no emotion. And he knows everyone in the dugout's not hitting any other home runs. That's the first point. So they're going to always try to pitch around. They're only going to pitch to our best guys when they're in opportune times of already losing. How does that affect the rest of the batters? Well, you don't let the game dictate to you. You're already letting the team dictate, right? So now you got guys like Marsh, Stott, who are being put in higher pressure situations than they want to be in. Because since the less you perform, the more pressure is going to be on you because they can just focus in on you more and just let the other guys get on base. And that's kind of what I've been saying.
The count is like the chess of the game, right? However you watch the game, watch a guy like Chris Sale. He's getting ahead in count so much. So he's pounding the zone early on, right? Now he's up 1-2, 0-2. Almost every other at bat, it feels like. So now he's got you on skates, right? He can dump 2 balls in the dirt 2-3 times or make you chase. The count is so important. And that's what kills. I mean, Trey Turner, that's what's been murdering.
Yeah, you were talking about Trey Turner. Trey Turner, he's self-diagnosed awesome first pitch hitter, and we watch it constantly, him not make contact. He's constantly in 0-1 counts, man.
Constantly. And it's going to happen because I know some of these guys like to just attack because then there's the opposite thinking of the first pitch you're going to get the most hittable. There's so much going on. There's a lot going on.
Talking to a lot of people and now doing the podcast, talking professionals like Chad Durbin and people who are in the game, coaching the game at all levels, college, pros. There's still a debate. What's better, jumping out on that first ball fastball? Right, first ball strike, or wait until you get a strike. In the pros, you can't truly wait till you get a strike, but you kind of can, right?
Yeah, you kind of can.
Wait for your pitch is probably more so how they frame it, but it's the same difference when you cut it. To me.
But the biggest point of that is even if they're trying to swarm you on the first pitch, right? A guy like Chris Sale, his mistake is going to be a fastball like on the edge of the strike zone, right? It's not going to be right in the middle of the strike zone like a guy like Matt Strahm did in the playoffs last year. So that's the biggest thing. It's like when you're going to make a mistake, which by the way, that's what home runs usually are, right? There's 2 things home runs are. It's when the hitter guesses the right pitch or it's a mistake pitch. That's usually what happens for a home run. So it's always going to happen. It happens every single game, right? There's pitches that are mistakes because these aren't robots throwing the ball. But yeah, thank you for that question. It's nice to talk a little bit more of the strategy of the game. But let's move on here, Slim. So Slim, before we preview very briefly the Giants series, let's just do a little bit of a recap here. So you think we should DFA Alec Bohm at this point?
Yep, I would DFA Alec Bohm over any firings. You got to,
Okay.
and here's the other point. Let's be honest. Let's hold the players accountable.
Oh, hell yeah.
At this point, let's hold the players accountable. I think that's an easy way to do it. It's sad, but it's not here or there.
Yeah. No, it's okay. So I'm with you. I think Bohm needs to be either DFA'd or some type of extended. I'm just going to use the word leave of absence.
Right.
So Bohm needs to be out of the equation for a week and a half right now.
And then the second thing for me would be a complete audit of whatever the hell Kevin Long's doing. Right. It's time for that. It's time for that evaluation. And
Right.
this is like the second call into the office.
And what we didn't talk about,
and
the left-handed batting practice. We got to talk about that.
Yeah, so that's what. Well, I was going to bring that up when it comes down to thinking Dombrowski and Middleton want to do any searching. They barely wanted to search for a left-hander batting practice person. You think they want to go find a new coach?
Dude, what do you think that was? Is that just a classic, like he put his foot in his mouth?
Dude, scrambling for excuses, not wanting to take accountability to himself, pushing off the blame subconsciously. It came out on him.
Right.
But he must I can only imagine, like Nick Cassiano said he wanted the packets, the defensive. That comment actually has some light now because he was talking about defensively. I'm sure he got packets for hitting, right? And that he probably ignored those. Those packets probably sat in his locker day after day after day, probably for a good reason. We're learning, right? So I would audit whatever kind of packets Kevin Long's doing, that kind of thing, and say, dude, something's wrong. Are you telling these dudes the wrong shit, man? Like,
the other kind of funky thing of speaking of Kevin Long, the Phillies are 0-10 versus left-handed starting pitchers. You see this? 0-10.
Wow. Yes, terrible, dude. That's absolutely terrible. You could do also the the classic HR move. Email me 3 things you did today.
Yeah, I mean, that I felt like I was trying to get deep in my mind on the whole Kevin Long left-handed batting practice pitcher thing. Was that him planting early seeds of like, it's not my fault? Like, it's just weird. That was a weird thing to say. Like, it's almost unthinkable. Like, sometimes my initial reaction for anything is this isn't that big of a deal. People on Twitter are going to make this a huge deal. Let's not overreact. When I read that, I was like, what the hell is this? This is a big deal. That you're saying that a team with a $330 million payroll can't find a left-handed batting practice thrower, and then you're saying that that actually has an impact on your performance. There's no way.
So whose call is that? Is that like Topper and Long or whoever else? Whoever else is on the managing squad, the coaching staff, they're like, "Hey, Dombrowski, we need some money to hire a new pitching instructor." Or should Dombrowski just had that figured out? Because it's funny because if we're talking like a dog whistle type thing, who is Kevin Long talking to? Is he trying to blame? I don't think he's blaming Topper. Is he trying to blame the front office and Dombrowski, Middleton, and then adding your boy again, Luzinski coming in? Is he trying to is he circling? Did he hear those comments? Then he's seeing the hitting, and he's like, you know what? Enough of Kevin Long.
Right.
And again, Kevin Long, not a professional player.
Right. But he did have going back to our boy Chad Durbin. Let's give him a shout out.
Yes.
Help me remember the player. Was it Carlos Beltran?
Beltran.
Yeah, I mean, so he's got some chops. He's got some.
No doubt.
Co-signers. He's got some co-signers.
Definitely has some co-signers, but that's been the criticism, and it seems to be building more merit than the other way at this point.
And going back to my point earlier, sometimes good managers, good coaches, they get fired. Charlie Manuel is the best manager in the history of our organization. He got fired in 2012. It happens. Sometimes you just run your course, and you got to just do a shake-up. Here's another thing I want to say to you. I got a lot on my mind tonight. Sorry, Slim.
You're good.
Let's say we're sellers at the deadline.
Right.
Who are the people we would even trade?
Duran.
Duran. Interesting.
Duran's
So
the guy you can trade.
I mean, there's guys we can trade. I'm
Yeah.
saying guys. So I view this team, if I'm in the front office, I don't view us as a rebuild. I
No.
view us as we had a bad year
Okay.
and we can be good next year.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not the Colorado Rockies.
Right. I would be fine trading Duran, getting some youth positional player like we gave up in Tati. Even though I don't think he still want to be up till about time this Remuto contract's almost over. But maybe get someone who's a little bit closer to the majors, have
Yeah.
Miller, have Crawford, have a left fielder or a right fielder,
Right.
something like that. And then if we look good, you can maybe develop a closer by committee, and then you can make another splash in the midseason in 28 or 27.
Right.
But I think if it gets real ugly, Duran's the guy you can move.
Interesting. Question there is,
his value's not going up on a shitty team.
Right. And we got Bigfoot guy in the chat. Love that handle. Yeah, a lot of coaches do get fired for the wrong reasons. They blame the guy. Yeah, no, you're not wrong there. There's got to be a fall guy. All right, so Slim,
I got a question for you. If we're talking rebuild, and I mentioned this, and it's a little tongue in cheek, but it's serious, and I wonder how much this actually matters. We recently heard Middleton say he has zero interest in building a new stadium. He thinks Citizens Bank Park can stay there for decades to come. I love Citizens Bank Park. I think it's sick. I love the vibes. I love everything about it. But long story short, dimensionally, defensively, it doesn't really provide us a advantage. We always say it's the crowd, the way it's built, that provides the advantage. And I'm mostly talking about like right, center, and left field, especially right and center field. When I'm watching, all right, so here's my point.
Okay.
Truist Field in Atlanta is friggin' huge. All right. Eli White, these dudes, Acuna in right field's awesome athlete, right? Eli White, Scremsky in left. I know game 2, they had a couple blunders, but besides that, these dudes are making great plays at the warning track. You're watching some hammer bombs.
Right.
Just absolutely get flown down, balls called at the wall, yada, yada, yada. They're able to build defensively with smarter guys like that play. It's not totally small ball, but it is because it's defensive baseball. We don't have that luxury of a big stadium and being defensively. We can still be defensively built, but our defense can only be so good because one reason is our big advantage with the stadium is right field, and it's not a defensive advantage. It's an advantage where you can take a crappy defender and put them in right field because our right field is so easy to play and it's a shorter wall. So you kind of see, I know that was a lot there, but you kind of see where I'm getting at. And then if we're rebuilding, what kind of right fielders are we looking for in the future?
Right. No, so basically there is a lot to unpack there, but basically what you're saying is it's hard to find an advantage based upon the dimensions since it's so somewhat cookie cutter relative to some of the other organizations. Yeah, no, dude, maybe we'll do a deep dive.
There's something because, like I said, if I see again San Diego with Petco Field, they just have these huge fields and they have these great defenders.
Right.
Tatis Jr., Jackson Merrill in center, and they're covering truly like the ocean, like Greg Maddux back back at the old vet days and before that. Yeah, we just totally don't have that. We do have an advantage, like we can maybe spend more money on weaker defenders in right field who are good on offense because it limits it. We saw Nick Castellanos.
Yeah.
Right. He was basically sometimes he was a statue and sometimes his advanced stats weren't that bad. You know?
Well, I mean, his advanced stats were usually pretty bad. His traditional stats weren't that
2 years ago,
catching the ball.
Yeah, 2020. This is 26. 2024. He was catching the ball.
Yeah,
and he was even, and there's no doubt that our right field helped made it softer for him to do.
No doubt. That's a really cool thing that we'll have to explore a little bit more. But let's talk about the next series, right? So it's not going to get any easier, folks. The good news is we are facing 3 straight righties coming up, right? So we got the day off tomorrow, then we got the Giants coming into town. We got the Phils have Jesus Luzardo, Christopher Sanchez, and Andrew Painter, which that sounds pretty good. We're facing Hauser, Webb, and Maley. So, Slim, obviously let's try to win a series. We haven't won a series in six series, right? Lost 6 straight.
No doubt.
Yeah.
We play San Fran. We did have decent out there. San Francisco Giants, they have gotten swept, I think, in 3 series already. They're one of the worst teams in baseball. They were the worst team in the National League before we became the worst team in the National League.
Yeah.
So this is an opportunity to come back home and get things settled. All right. Hauser's not great. Webb's really good. All right. And well, we have to get down to our strength's got to be our strength. Devo says it sounds really good. Who's pitching again?
It's Webb. So for us, it's Luzardo, Painter, and Sanchez.
Yeah, Luzardo, Painter, and Sanchez. That should be 20 plus 20 innings of baseball pitch, right? Are we going to get that number? Because we haven't gotten 7 innings from anybody yet.
Wow.
So if that gets back on track, we should easily take 2 or 3 of this series and slowly get ourselves back in this wild card. And that's another reason why you're not going to get rid of Topper. Because look, we almost beat the Braves. I'm not going to say we almost beat the Braves. The Braves haven't lost a series all year. Okay, we took 1. That's fine. The Giants have been losing series left and right. They've been swept 3 times this year, more than any other team. They're coming from across the country to Philadelphia for an early week series. We should kick their ass. And if we don't kick their ass, now it's I'm always going to bite my tongue because mathematically,
say it, baby. Say it.
Mathematically, I don't think it makes sense to get rid of Topper, just like I didn't think it made sense to get rid of Castellanos, even though it looks like the relationship is dead. But man, if we lose, I don't think we're going to lose to San Fran. If we do, it's going to be so hard.
And you know what else
to be nice about it?
No, 100%. And you mentioned Topper, so I want to end on this and then just kick it over to you if you have anything else.
Mm-hmm.
The sentimental kick in the stones is that this was going to be a big year for Topper to climb up the leaderboard for wins as a Phillies manager. Like, even if we had an average year, I was looking at the numbers the other day. Don't quote me exactly, but I think he's around top 10 right now. He passed Larry Bohm last year. Even if we won like 80 games, he'd be close to a top 5 pitcher, a top 5 manager ever in Phillies history with wins. And then if he did his next year, which you would have hoped he would have, he's getting close to where Charlie Manuel is. So this stinks from like a sentimental standpoint. I don't want him to be let go. My official stance, I don't think this is Topper's fault at all. I believe if Dombrowski and Middleton are, let's ride this until the wheels fall off, we think Topper should be your 27, you don't fire him under any circumstance. That's where I'm at.
And we've heard Ben Davis, other people say that Topper's one of the best managers he's ever been around. Right. They've been around great managers. They say he's the best. We had Chad Durbin come on the show. He has praised Kevin Long. Others have praised Kevin Long. You mentioned the Carlos Beltran stuff. No one really thinks it's Topper's fault. Right. So here's my question to you. What are the odds we end up keeping Topper and Dombrowski's gone next year?
Ooh, that's a really interesting question, right? The question being, are they attached?
Because Preston Mattingly could say, hey, this guy, he's even keel. When we're low, he's the same dude. When we're high, he's the same dude, which is, to me, a plus.
Right.
I know people hate it, but it's a plus to me. I don't want an Aaron Boone lunatic coach.
So I have 2 different ways I want to attack that. I believe that John Middleton and Dave Dombrowski are extremely close. I believe the odds-on favorite, 90% chance, the way that ends is that it's framed as Dave Dombrowski stepping away and then Mattingly coming in. So the answer to that, I think that there's a chance that he wants to move on from him, but that it'll be positioned as Dombrowski stepping away. And then the second layer of that question is, do you think that Topper is still there? I would say very low. I would say there's a 10% chance of that being the
Okay,
case.
because I don't think when we got rid of Girardi, people were talking about Girardi like he was half-assed in the job at sometimes. You know, you don't hear nothing like that with Topper, man.
Right. All right. So we got Scott in the chat saying hidden mentality is horrible. Pitching is bad. Check, check. Defense bad. Check. Big money, no production equals firing. Who built this team? Stop selling the snake oil. No, so you're clearly coming at Dombrowski's throat. I hear you, brother. We all agree that Dombrowski, based upon what he did this last offseason and the previous ones, he struck out on Kepler, he struck out on so far Garcia has recently he's been pretty good, but overall not a stud. And obviously there's tons of other ones, Taiwan Walker, etc.
And the handling of Bryce Harper. It goes back and forth. But he's losing that fight right now versus Bryce Harper. And I wouldn't mind if Bryce Harper came out and said a little bit more. He said a little bit about they're tired of hearing the same things every day. And I think he's just kind of pointing towards the professionalism and the way the Phillies always hold themselves. But yeah, something has to give.
No, great call. Yeah, no, we'll have to bring that out more next episode because we were all on the same page. You and I. Bones was a little bit more old school with this. We thought it was a mishandling by Dombrowski. Now Harper, I believe, is like a top 4 first baseman right now as far as his production.
And let's be serious. Everybody's saying, "Oh, Middleton listens to the fans. Middleton listens to the fans." Well, Middleton, listen to the Red Corner, Red Riders. Let's get the message out there.
Yeah.
We understand Topper needs to be held accountable. Kevin Long needs to be held accountable, but we think Dombrowski might be the guy that needs to go at this point, right? If we're gonna be holding people accountable, if Middleton really is a people of the fans, throw up the Twitter poll, bro. We did it with Harper and Machado. Put Topper up there, put Dombrowski up there, call the meeting, show the players, say, hey, we can't get rid of all the players because if we could do Dombrowski, Topper, and the players, it will be a third. We got it down to these two. We're going to let the city vote who they think it is, and then you guys got to perform, and that goes with Dombrowski.
No, that's a great point. And honestly, I think an underlying factor is how ready they view Preston Mattingly. We talked about it in the offseason in one of our episodes that it was very clear that they were trying to put Preston Mattingly in front of a camera, in front of interviews a lot more frequently, right? They're preparing him for that role. There's no coincidence behind that, right? And I will say he's an impressive guy. He's not Dave Dombrowski though. Like Dombrowski is. Say what you want about how he mishandled the Harper stuff. That's just because he's super uncomfortable in front of the press and the camera. He's just talking very freely. He's very polished. Dombrowski's very impressive. And remember who we had previously. We had Klentak, who was not impressive with the media, and Kepler, who you can have a lot of opinions on him. So Middleton obviously overcorrected those guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's no doubt. I'm thinking about the Kepler video that Matt Gelb tweeted out with the left-handed pitchers, where he was openly looking for left-handed pitchers.
Unbelievable.
It's honestly surreal.
Close it down, Slim. What do you got for me? Anything?
No, for me, I still believe I love all the new baseball rules. Right, I've been unabashed in that. I love all the ghost runner. I love the pitch count. I love the ABS has been fantastic. It has added drama that I can't believe and wasn't ready for, especially with showing up the umpires and then look in the comments from the umpires are great. With all that being said, the third wild card is going to be what I love the most because that's what the Philadelphia Phillies are now fighting for. They got to get themselves out of the basement. It starts by beating who should be in the basement, San Francisco Giants. It starts by maybe DFA and Alec Bohm if he doesn't get his stuff figured out ASAP. But I still think we're alive for the third wild card. Shout out to the third wild card because Philadelphia Phillies were coming, baby.
Yeah, so Johnny Baseball, I love that. That was a great shout out there, Slim. Johnny Baseball in the chat here. And by the way, we're going to have him on the podcast. We'll try to get him on soon to talk about just the state of affairs with the Red Sox and the peculiar overlap that the Red Sox situation and the Phillies situation right now is. So, but he has a comment in the chat here. He's saying if Alex Cora is someone that the Phillies want to succeed Topper, the only way I think it happens is if Dombrowski is in the organization. That's a really nice little ripple effect there, Slim. What do you say there?
I agree with it. But with that being said, if we're comparing Topper to Cora, Cora's been around Boston for a long, long time. Again, he was kind of like the scapegoat there, but he was inconsistent with the talent they gave him, right? So I think there are strong parallels. If you get rid of, I don't keep Dombrowski to get Cora. All right, if that's what
Right.
that's not
That's a
my
good
thing.
way of putting it. That's
All
a
right,
good way
I'm
of
not
putting it.
keeping Dombrowski to keep Cora. Would if you bring in Cora, now he kind of answers that section of the fan base who wants a little bit more,
Right.
uh, whatever. But we'll see what happens there. I don't really buy any of that. Cora is interesting. I just don't think he's going to come here.
Yeah, and Core is almost in a very it's almost the extreme other end of it, right? Because John Henry is like the evil emperor, everyone hates his guts guy. It's almost like Cora is a martyr, right? As if, by the way, his the Red Sox historically great organization. The last 7, 8 years, John, correct me, they haven't been phenomenal, right? I know they got the
No,
World Series, um, but Cora, what, 290 win games in 7 years? And again, I know there's a lot. I'm not oversimplifying it, but it's not like he's I don't know. It's not like he's Jim Leland. So
yep. Bustle Allen, he said it could happen. If it happens, it's going to happen in 2027. So maybe we are on a fast again. And then if you bring in Cora, what's that contract? 1 year, two, because we've been keeping Topper on two.
yeah, I don't think.
Anytime Topper gets down to 1 year, we extend it to 2 years, like we just did this past off season. What are you going to get Cora if he's so linked up with Dombrowski? Because you cannot give Dombrowski more grace in a 28 and 29.
Yeah, exactly. So the 3 postseason appearances since 28, mostly last. Yeah, so I like again, Core was the manager there, right? So like I understand there's a lot. I'm not going to oversimplify because I know they made a lot of very questionable transactions. You and I have talked about offline, but he's a weird one to analyze because of that, right?
Two things. We know friends who are going up to the Red Sox series when the Phillies go up in May. At first, I was like, "Ah, man, I can't make it." I know Red Sox are always, inflated prices since they're a marquee team and market. Man, with them playing worse, are those Fenway tickets going to be any cheaper, Johnny? Can I get a quick hour flight up to Boston and get a cheap Fenway ticket? You think on that series now? And secondly, it's so funny back in the day, if one of my friends of another team, their team was struggling, I would always put their nose in it, always rub it in. Now that we're like in the media, right? We're on social media, we're in the media. Since now that we're doing this, I feel for other people who are in their grind and have to follow these crappy teams, and just when they're in the last place when they're not performing because it's not fun. It is a
No.
lot of time. It is a lot of energy, and all that hits you when you're growing older, and also, yeah, doing it for a living almost.
Right. And then John points out that the in 2020, because Core was linked to the whole Astros cheating scandal, that he didn't manage that year. So yes, and he's got a little bit of a tarnish there, but he gets some Puerto Rican points for me. I like that.
He gets a
Now,
lot. The Puerto Rican points are honestly from a lot of
yeah,
fan base. A lot of fan base is tired of quote unquote the vanilla professional whatever. And there is something. It's funny because I said this last week when I looked at Topper and Kevin Long exchanging lineup cards, and then I looked at Weiss over with the Braves. He looked
yeah,
more professional.
yeah.
When we talk about Aaron Nola maybe not being in the best shape he's ever been, maybe sweating too much. What and you can't measure this stuff, but what is the content factor of these vets?
It's tough, dude. It's a tough thing to measure. 100%. It really is. John, this is what's weird. John, you're commenting on Twitter, right? Like, are you literally watching on Twitter and able to comment? Because that's what throws me off. It's no one else is able to do that. I feel like I got to troubleshoot that. But that's neither here nor there. Because I'm glad that you're able to comment through Twitter. Because most of our stuff comes through YouTube. All right, Slim. let's close it down here. So, guys, if you are still here, hit that subscribe button. Please hit that like button. Hit that hype button. Hit that hype
Yes,
button
sir.
as well. If anything pops off tomorrow, if any heads fall, we'll go live. So we will respond live tomorrow if anything happens. Hopefully it does not, unless it's at Kevin Long. All right.
If it happens, hopefully it happens at 5 o'clock, so I'm done batting practice with my boys.
That's right. All right, cool. Thank you, John. And John, we will do a whole episode together on that. Go Phil. See you soon.
Yeah, there's a lot. Cool.
And it's the red